know about Nick Drake. Like, what happened to him? How did you fall in love with Nick Drake? Like, that was the first book?
Yes, that was so funny. It was so long ago. I've written 3 books about music. 2 of them.
What do you think was more helpful, the EMDR or the group, or do you think it was the marriage of the both?
They helped in different ways. I think the group helped me not, feel like less of a sort of space alien. And then I think the EMDR helped with...
What was your husband's illness? Like, what happened?
Unfortunately, we both had COVID at the time that he died. It was the first time either of us had COVID, but it was in that sort of era. And I think because he was COVID positive.
And what did you do to deal with trauma? So, welcome to my dad's apartment at the Dopey studio. Are you very impressed?
I'm thrilled to be here. It's a lovely apartment.
Well, it is a lovely apartment.
You walk in and it feels like that. This was sort of my fantasy of Manhattan when I was a child. There's like books and cool art and a view and a huge kitchen table.
It feels like what middle-class Jewry at age 81 when the wife is gone feels like.
May we all get there one day.
Right?
It looks beautiful. Living the dream.
Absolutely. And you grew up in Westchester, and we're outside of Orange County.
It was Westchester County. It is
Westchester.
The northwesternmost. Is that right? Yeah. God. Yes, the northwesternmost corner of Westchester County. Perhaps the armpit of Westchester County, as some might say. But I loved it. I grew up on the Hudson River. My parents were public school teachers. It was a very sweet childhood. And I live now not terribly far from there.
My parents were public school teachers too.
Yeah. What did they teach?
My mom taught reading. My mom first taught elementary school. She wound up teaching in Washington Heights. And she taught, I think my dad says I say everything wrong on the show about my life. I said a lot of things that don't make sense, but as far as I knew, she taught people with learning disabilities, and then she became a reading teacher. What did your parents teach?
Noble work. My dad taught middle school math, and my mom taught high school art.
Okay.
So I had the strange experience of going to the middle school where my father was a teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, which was intense.
What was that like?
Socially. Awkward. My dad was a great teacher and he's a wonderful man, but but you don't want your dad to be the math teacher.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing, even just small town living in general.
Yeah.
Because I live in a town 50 miles east of here, and it's nothing like I expected it, like knowing people.
How long have you been out there?
I've been out there for 9.5 years.
Oh, wow.
But it feels like not that long.
Do you miss the city?
No, I'm here all the time.
Yeah.
I'm here all the time.
Yeah.
You're here all the time, right?
I'm here all the time. But I've only been out for 3 years, a little over 3 years.
And you moved from Brooklyn.
I moved from Brooklyn.
To Brooklyn North.
To Brooklyn North, yes. It's exactly right. As the Hudson Valley is now known. You can get a very expensive cup of coffee there and, talk to an art director. We
drive through there going to visit my dad's, and my wife is always like, oh, I love it here. I could see living here. And because it's all just bougie diners and fancy spots and artisanal mayonnaise and such.
Unfortunately, exactly right.
I don't think it's unfortunate. I live in like Trump land, like contractors, cops, Trumpy business.
Okay.
But I've found my home. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's the whitest place I've ever lived, but I feel okay. I mean, like my daughter's half Jewish and she's like the most not like everybody else in the school, it's weird. It's very like Pleasantville 50s.
How old is your daughter?
I have a 15-year-old and I have a 7-year-old.
Okay. All right.
And you have a 4-year-old?
I have a 4-year-old.
And normally on our show, we have horrible drug addicts and alcoholics and total train wreck people or people who take care of them. And then AJ Delario, who I need to shout out because I rarely just steal from people. But AJ Delario has a beautiful newsletter called The Small Bow and a podcast around the same name. And him and I have been like conspiring for years about ideas and stuff. And he's always like, you have too many junkies on the show. You need to come up with something else. You need to find something else. And he told me about you, and he told me about his concept of, and it's not necessarily his concept, but he told me, so I'll give him credit, the idea of everybody's recovering from something.
Right.
And you lost your husband.
Yeah.
And you're in this deep recovery from grief. And I'll give AJ more credit that he saw you post on Instagram that you wish there was a meeting to help you recover from grief. And he's like, that's the person I want on my show.
I love AJ.
He's a sweetheart.
I love the small bow. And I love that idea. And it's true. I mean, when I posted that, I sort of worried. I think I talked to AJ about this. I worried it was somehow offensive to people who are in, a more literal recovery, maybe from substance abuse. But that idea of a sort of fellowship and like a place, because grief is odd. I mean, like recovery, there's sort of days where it's incredibly difficult. And then whole stretches of time where you don't really think twice about it. And so the idea that, I don't know, there'd be a place you could go, like you could sort of drop in when you needed to, when you had a particularly shitty day, and you could sort of sit down with people who maybe knew what that felt like. That was appealing to me. I also like the sort of structure of a 12-step program, and that you get like a chip at the end of the year that says like you made it 12 months, Grieving people should get that. It's a long, lonely road, and it's strange, and it's confusing, and it's alienating, and there's not a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of ritual surrounding sort of moment of death, in terms of a funeral, or sort of people send flowers or whatever. You get casseroles for a while, but that dissipates pretty quickly, and then there really is no. I don't know. There's sort of no organized way to manage it.
Now, I've always, because like Dopey is this weird podcast. It was meant to be a podcast about horrible drug stories. But then as we made the show, it changed in a lot of ways. And something that I go to Alcoholics Anonymous, but I never really even drank. I was a heroin addict, and I needed a spiritual program to save my life. And it wound up being Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
But I really believe that there should be some kind of crazy non-denominational program that includes grief, that includes like eating and gambling, and where like, and I heard AJ say that you could show up to AA if you wanted to, and you could, because the only really requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking.
Right.
And you can say, I have it for this hour where I'm going to the meeting.
Sure, yeah.
And probably get something out of it. But I think that's annoying to me that there isn't like a fellowship for grief.
Yeah. There isn't. There's a lot of really corny literature, and that's sort of it. But grief is, it's gnarly and it's violent sometimes. And I just, like a sort of realer space maybe to engage with some of that. Also the inconsistency of it. I feel like I keep talking about that, but it's been very striking to me. A place where maybe it's understood that like one day you're fine, and then an hour later you're devastated. That's sort of how this works. I don't know. It's a tough thing, I think, for people who haven't maybe lived through the loss of someone quite close to them, or in particular, in my case, like a very sudden loss, which is existentially unmooring in a way I could not have anticipated. To have someone sort of be there 1 second and then they're gone without warning. I mean that happens with people who overdose. It happens with whatever, people get hit by cars, shot. It's a particular strain of grief, maybe.
What happened? What was your husband's illness? Like, what happened?
He wasn't ill.
Because I'm Googling and I can't, there's no explanation. Easy to find.
Well, there really is. I mean, there's still a lot I don't know. Unfortunately, we both had COVID at the time that he died. It was the first time either of us had COVID, but it was in that sort of era. And I think COVID probably most likely was a factor in his death. But because he was COVID positive, there were a lot of things we couldn't do, in terms of like an autopsy or, all this sort of posthumous kind of investigating that maybe would have shed some light on what happened. But the very short version of the story is that he had a seizure and went to the emergency room, had a second seizure, and went into cardiac arrest. So this was, a healthy person who then just was gone. And we had a really young child at the time.
13 months.
Yeah, 13 months.
And there was no explanation.
Not really.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part. And they never could do an autopsy.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot I don't know, which is hard. And then I think also, but then at a certain point, you're just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The sort of ultimate finality of death where you just think the person's gone and kind of whatever happened or the why and the how. I don't know. You just, at some point, I think you have to let that stuff go.
I think that's all about like, that's recovery.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Like people would always say, well, why were you on heroin? And I'm like,
I don't know.
I liked it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like in the end of the day, when I'm trying to get sober and I'm trying to have a nice life, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All that matters is that I can somehow get through a day without being in total misery and chaos and self-hatred and fear and all of those things. And
Yeah.
and you're I didn't say this. I should have said this at the beginning. You're a very renowned journalist.
Oh, thank you.
I was on the phone with some hippie this morning who was like, you need to congratulate Amanda for really providing some journalistic integrity to look at fish, because she really served our community in such a big way.
Ah, that's incredibly generous. Well, thank you.
A lot of filthy hippies are huge fans.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Well, that fish story has an interesting recovery thread in it because, of course, Trey is sober. And
I didn't know Trey was sober.
Trey is sober. You knew that.
No, I'm obsessed with getting Trey on the stupid show. I'm obsessed with it. It's like one of the things, like, it's hard. We'll get into that later. I want to stick with how horrible your life is from the trauma of your husband's death.
Yeah.
And that you go on shows to sort it out over and over again.
To press the bruise.
How is that?
Well, I've been talking about it, honestly. It's funny. I remember this interview with Stephen Colbert. I can't remember who he was talking to. It might have been in conversation with Anderson Cooper, where I think it was Anderson said to him, you know, is it hard for you to talk about this? Do you find it annoying when people ask you about it? And I think what he said was, I'm amazed people don't ask me about it all the time, you know, because you live through an event like that, and it feels quite dramatic, and it feels like the most significant thing that's ever happened to you. And so it's funny to not be talking about it. I felt that way, especially, I think it's been 3 years now since Brett died. I think I felt that way, especially the first year, where it was like I couldn't imagine talking about anything else. You know, it was sort of all I thought about. It occupied so much of my conscious mind. But doing this now is sort of gratifying in a different way, because I think I was so hungry for other kind of narratives of loss that, you know, being able to participate in that in even the tiniest way. There's no way for me to say this without sounding sort of sanctimonious. Like,
No, let it.
I think I could help people. No, of course not. But just, I don't know. It's I don't mind talking about it, because I guess I have some small hope that maybe it would be helpful for someone else going through something similar, because it was helpful for me to hear from people who'd been through something similar.
It's also, I mean, I'm imagining it's just decompressing. Like people tell me all the time that that Dopey helps them.
Yeah.
And I believe that Dopey keeps them company, that Dopey entertains them. And any second that you're not stuck in your mind thinking about yourself is a helpful moment. So I think we do help people like that. And I think with something like grief, I don't think I had any real death in my life. Like my grandparents, whatever. And my mother died. I'm going to get the date wrong. My dad's going to fucking freak out.
Sorry, Dad.
I get her what she did, all this stuff. But I think she died in 2008, around there, 2007, 2008. And I was still on drugs. And it hit me hard. It destroyed him. And he was out of his mind for years, just like keyed in on this trauma. I mean, they were together for, I don't know. Again, I'm going to get the details wrong. 40 some odd years, 45 years, maybe longer. I hate that I can't do math quickly on the fly, but that I have this information at my fingertips. But they were married for a long time, and they were super close, and she died, and he was distraught. And everyone's like trying, because he doesn't do therapy. He doesn't do anything like that. And everyone's trying to get him to go to bereavement groups and to seek counseling. And what did you do to deal with trauma?
I had a therapist, and then I got a second therapist. I did EMDR, which I found wildly helpful. Have you tried that?
No. Tell. Why was it helpful? What does it do?
I mean,
magnets?
No, it's like the thing. You put on a tinfoil hat? No. No, I don't know. I'm the wrong person to sort of explain the neurobiology behind it. But basically, it's talk therapy. You talk through like an incredibly traumatic event in sort of vivid detail. And while you're doing that, you stimulate your brain in some kind of benign way. So I think a lot of people do it where you sort of move your eyes back and forth. But I did it where I was like holding these two little things that buzzed, kind of like the thing you get at Chili's when you're waiting for your table or whatever. And I had one in each hand. And somehow it overrides, if you have this benign impulse going in while you're talking about an incredibly traumatic event, somehow like neutralizes the panic. Again, not a scientist, rock critic, but it has been, the data sort of supports it as an extraordinarily effective and non-invasive and non-medical therapy for PTSD, and it's also finite. I think the recommended set of sessions is 10. So like you do it 10 times. It's not like that thing where you end up in therapy for the next 75 years. It's like you're going to do this for 10 weeks, and it's going to be difficult, and you're going to cry. But then at the end of it, like you will stop having weird flashbacks and hearing things and whatever however that panic or that kind of trauma might manifest for you. Really worked for me, but I also did it quite early. I was lucky to have like a very wonderful, very smart primary care physician. I think this was rare too, that I had like an actual doctor who was like, look, grief is, it's like a brain injury. Like we have to sort of treat it that way. There's all these physical manifestations of grief. There's all these, things we could point to that, people lose a spouse and then they die 2 years later. And it's sort of the romantic thing is to say they died of heartbreak, but in fact they die because it's very stressful to live.
They didn't die of a broken heart.
They die, in fact, because they stopped taking care of themselves. They stopped sleeping. They're all fucked up, So she was kind of encouraging me to treat it as like a bodily event that needed, like kind of real medical intervention. So she encouraged me to try EMDR. I found it useful. Life-changing in a way. So I did that. I also joined a support group for people who had lost someone suddenly, like a sudden loss support group. And the therapist that ran that had kind of assembled a cohort that had all lost people around the same time. So I think we were all like about 3 months out from our respective losses. All of the people had died in kind of fairly, challenging, like violent ways, quick ways. And that was also really helpful. It was good to sort of check in with a bunch of people who weren't, I don't know, you didn't have to make small talk, which I found excruciating in that first year. You didn't have to, you didn't have to sort of explain your bad mood. That helped me because I was really hungry, sort of desperate in that moment to connect with people who maybe had a sense of what it felt like. And loss and grief, it's everywhere. There's so many people who have sort of lived through these things. But in the moment when you are living through it, I think you feel like a totally different person than you were, before it happened. And that itself is alienating. And then people are uncomfortable around you, understandably so. I was that way too before I had a better sense of what it felt like. No one knows what to say. They say weird stuff, or they avoid you. So it was lonely. And I think that the support group, it was these really wonderful women who are still in my life and, who I care about very deeply. But that was hugely helpful. So I did a lot. I was like, fuck. I also had a really small kid. And I remember thinking like, I can't be fucked up. Like I can be a little fucked up, but I need to be there for her. She's down to one parent. I'll do, to be totally frank, like I'll do whatever it takes to be like a healthy and happy person in her life.
I think that's another way it totally like mimics recovery. It is recovery.
Yeah.
It's like, and I can't stand sanctimony, but what you're describing is somebody who's like taking an active part in their well-being.
Yeah.
And what do you think was more helpful? I'm really interested in EMDR. It's something I've never done. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people talk about it, and all I can think of is magnets and closing your eye. I don't know why. That's
what are the magnets?
I don't know. I just think there's like they put magnets on your head. I can learn.
I don't know. Yeah.
I can learn something and never learn it. I have a deep learning disability. What do you think was more helpful, the EMDR or the group, or do you think it was the marriage of the both?
They helped in different ways. I think the group helped me not, feel like less of a sort of space alien. And then I think the EMDR helped with, again, I like the language of PTSD, I don't want to misuse, but, I saw Brett have the seizure. It was scary.
Oh my God. You were there.
I was with them. Yeah. I called 911. I was holding my daughter. It was scary.
Horrible. So scary.
Yeah. And I'd never seen anyone have a seizure before. And, and it's like loud and it's crazy. And Yeah. So I think my memory of that was so kind of vivid. And I think with very specific events like that, EMDR can be quite helpful because you're sort of zeroing in on this one thing, this period of whatever, 5 minutes, like whatever it is. And you're kind of like neutralizing it, I think, neurologically somehow. You're sort of defanging it by talking through it over and over again and pairing it with this sort of benign stimulus. I don't know. It's somehow, again, I wish I could explain the science of it better. It's actually something I've been thinking about writing about for The New Yorker. I've talked a little bit with my editor about it because it interests me. And I'm sort of like, I did that thing. And at the time, I didn't have the kind of intellectual wherewithal to like get to the bottom of it, like what it was and how it worked and why I should. Somebody told me to do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do, whatever, any sort of life draft someone is throwing me in this moment, I'm going to grab it. But I'm curious now, a little bit more now to kind of understand the particulars of it. But I found it was just effective for me. It just worked.
It's so cool. It sounds like it's like one of the few tools where you can really rewire the brain in a pretty easy way from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you're just talking. That's the thing. I mean, whatever, you have some little thing buzzing in your hand, or I think, like I said, I think a lot of people do it. I think the E...
I always thought the E was electromagnetic.
No, I think it's eye movement.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's eye movement.
I think a lot of people do it where you're kind of like looking for like a light like flashes and you kind of go from one to the other or whatever. I think there's a couple different ways you can do the benign stimulus part of it. But yeah, it fascinates me. I liked that it was non-medical. I was not sure because people will also try to treat you with, anxiety medication or antidepressants. I think those are wildly useful for some people. I was a little worried about, treating grief is a weird idea, or treating it as with chemicals is a weird idea.
Well, it's like saying addiction is a disease in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's like, and people will get angry at me for that. Like, I don't love that vernacular, like addiction.
It's complicated, isn't it?
I don't love that.
Yeah.
But we always would call it an affliction.
Yeah.
Because affliction seemed vague and we probably didn't know the difference between definitions. Right. and I think grief, you're afflicted with grief.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing.
Yeah.
And then my wife runs a support group for families who lost somebody to suicide and fentanyl overdose. And she's constantly dealing with grieving people and running it as an 8-week group.
Yeah.
She was like, I should do the interview this morning. I was like, well, you get your own fucking podcast.
Can she call in?
No, no. Leave her out of this thing. But she used to come on the show a lot.
Yeah.
And then it was bad for our relationship.
Oh yeah, that sounds complicated.
Whenever she would come on the show, and I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. During that week, we'd get into a fight about something, and then she'd tell me, "You need to take that fucking show down." That's what happened every fucking time. So I don't let her come on.
Were you guys together when you were an addict?
Yeah.
Okay. She's been with you through.
No. We were together when I was an addict. We did drugs the first time we met. We met when I was 23. Then I didn't see her again for 13 years. And then my mother had just died and I met her again. We did drugs and hooked up and I was a horrible drug addict. And she got pregnant and I stopped doing heroin, but I didn't stop smoking weed. And I wound up relapsing on heroin. And it's funny because I was listening to you on one of the shows you had been on and describing that Nico was 13 months. And when my daughter was 13 months, my first daughter, I was in treatment, telling everybody that my daughter's 13 months old and I need to figure out a way to get it together. And I didn't get it together for 4 years. And she left me. My wife left, and we never got married. I just called my wife. She left me, and we were broken up for 5 years, 4.5 years. And then when I got sober, I think I had a couple months and she was down to try. So it was a miraculous thing. And would you say you're just a rock critic for The New Yorker? Do you not write about other stuff?
No, my official title is staff writer.
Right.
And pop music critic. Yeah, I mostly write about music. I mean, I have the, I think I mentioned I maybe will one day write something about grief. I don't know, but
you should write about grief and you should write about EMDR because it would help people and it would help you and you'll uncover a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think that sounds interesting to me. But chiefly, chiefly I write about music. I'll write the pop music column, which is like the critics column in the back of the magazine. Those are sort of like little critical essays. But then I report a lot of profiles. So I spend a lot of time hanging around musicians and sort of trying to, crack the safe a little bit.
How much work were you doing in the wake of the death?
I went back to work really fast, probably inadvisedly fast. I think even my editors at the magazine, who were very gentle with me at that time, were like, are you sure? They were like, take as much time as you need. I mean, I think like most American corporations, you get this sort of hilarious amount of bereavement leave. I think it's like 3 days or something is the official policy. It's pretty standard. But luckily, I was working with people who were like, 3 days, you're not even to the funeral at 3 days. The thought of...
It's a joke. I mean, it's like, it's fucked up. But I think, because I'm always trying to think about tools to get through horrible situations.
Yeah.
And I feel like purpose.
Yeah.
And like you love your work.
I love
So it's like,
work.
Why wouldn't you want to get right into it?
Yeah. I was writing again, I feel like within, 2 weeks, like whenever I was sort of upright and cogent again. I was working, I think I talked to AJ about this. I was working on a profile of Metallica at the time.
Yeah.
In fact, I had just gotten home from being with Metallica in Chicago for Lollapalooza when Brett died. I think I'd been home for like 2 days. And their music is really death obsessed. And I think that too was useful, but mostly the work of writing a profile, it's such a sort of sense-making journey. And it's a story with like a beginning and a middle and an end. And you're kind of making connections and sort of teasing out meaning. And that was very satisfying for me because as a writer, you have an enormous amount of control. It's like, I'm going to make this thing make sense. And I was living through this period in my life where nothing made sense. And I kind of couldn't understand what had just happened to me or why Brett had died or, So it was helpful in that way. I think it made me feel safe. It's also, this is maybe almost comparable with being on a drug, like, or having sex or like whatever it is. Like when I'm doing that, there's like a kind of ego death in the work. I'm writing and I'm not thinking about anything else. Like it feels like a very safe, quiet place for me. Time passes and I don't realize it's passing. It's like that's what writing is for me. So that, yeah, I mean, I welcomed that. I needed it. I couldn't. I was like, well, what am I going to do all day? If I don't do this, what am I going to do? I don't know.
I'm sure that was incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you know about our show, but I started it with my friend who wound up dying while we were making it. And he died on again, I'm going to get the details wrong, on a Monday or something. And my wife is like, you could stop doing the show now if you want. And I was like, I don't want to stop doing the show. And and I didn't miss the week. I've never missed a week in making this show in almost 10 years. And I just want to add episodes because I like the work.
Yeah.
And it gives me something to do besides, be lost here. And I have so many music things to talk about with you.
Yeah.
Like, were you a big Metallica person before you get embedded with Metallica?
Yeah. I mean, I love Metallica. I think I love them more now maybe than I did then. For me as a writer, it's like I'm interested in an arc. I'm interested in a story, I think first, maybe more than it's like, oh, I love this band and I think their music is so cool. Because that's whatever, that's a paragraph, and I need to write 10,000 words. So it's like there needs to be some sort of, bigger and broader and kind of more compelling thing happening there. I mean, they were a band that really interested me. I mean, they're still a band that really interests me. I like, and this was true of the piece that I wrote about Fish too. I think I'm really drawn to these groups that have sort of managed to kind of develop a thing totally outside of mainstream culture, but are also achieving success on like a wild scale. I mean, Metallica is one of the most popular bands in the world, but they're making this music that's like has absolutely nothing to do with the zeitgeist at the time,
But they did tuck into the zeitgeist.
They did. I mean, with the Black Album, they certainly did. And that's a divisive moment, among Metallica fans. There are many diehard Metallica fans who will ride for those first 3 records, the thrash years, and then the Black Album, and they're like, fuck this, whatever, sell out assholes.
Well, Fish didn't succumb to that.
Fish didn't do that. They
tried to. They tried to do it.
Farmhouse was like a little bit of a hit. They were on a major label briefly. I think they kind of flirted with it. I would say Fish maybe fundamentally more disinterested in that than Metallica was.
Of course, right. At its core, and Fish saw they didn't need it.
They didn't need it.
It seemed very clear to them that their subculture was their subculture. I grew up like in this house, obviously. So I grew up in New York City. And as a teenager, I went to high school in Manhattan, but there was a ton of kids in my high school from Queens and Brooklyn. And the Metallica mode in the late 80s, early 90s was not Black Album Metallica. And I didn't listen to fucking any of it.
Yeah.
And that's another question I have, just how you can be so open. Cause I'm so anti everything. And I that's why I'm not a fucking rock critic for the New Yorker. I think it's really
it's such a hater.
I'm so broken. It's like I'm so fucking broken. But I have so many great memories of just the subculture.
Yeah.
There was a kid it wasn't even in my high school, but there was a kid who hung out at my high school with the Queens metalheads. And we called him Rob the Metalhead. And he always wore like a Master of Puppets shirt or Ride the Lightning shirt or whatever. And I just I love deep subculture.
Yeah.
And
me too.
Love that shit.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I shouldn't say this. I'm scared. I've been trying to get Trey on the show. Last summer, they told me he's coming on the show. I got clearance from dude. I can't remember. Red Light dude.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Well, they have 3 managers. I mean, Corin Capshaw is the big Red Light guy. Patrick.
Yeah, okay. Patrick said, I've got good news for you, David.
I love Patrick.
Well, good.
Okay.
Trey's going to do Mark Maron this year.
Yeah.
He's going to do Rick Rubin this year, and he's going to do Dopey this year. And I was like, amazing. And then Patrick stopped writing me back.
He did the Maron. Did he do Rick Rubin?
I don't think so. I think he had such a bad experience on Maron. I felt like I know Mark Maron, and I went on his show and he came on Dopey a few times, but I don't think he gave Trey his due.
Yeah, that's an interesting interview. Although, fascinating. Trey and I have talked about that interview quite a bit.
Did Trey think that Maron gave him his due?
I mean, Trey is he's the nicest person you will ever meet. And he's never going to be like,
he was
that fucking guy. He's never going to say that, he's, but I listened to that piece. Funnily enough, I know Mark Maron went to one of the Hollywood Bowl Fish shows this past summer. So I feel like Trey, I know that because Maron posted a picture of his backstage pass on Instagram.
And he's like, I get it a little bit.
Yeah, but it caused like a mild panic in the Fish. That's a security issue to post a pass.
Because then you can make copies.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, are people really going to, I don't know, Fish fans are pretty intense. Like, is somebody going to be out there or whatever on their, anyway, you're not supposed to do that. Just made me laugh. Yes. I think that interview was interesting. And I think, Fish is a divisive band. Like, they're really not for everybody. This is true of Metallica as well. As though you said, Metallica maybe had a slightly broader reach. I like that about them. I think it's punk rock. I think it's cool as fuck. Like, they don't care. Fish doesn't give a fuck,
I'm very interested in all of it. With Metallica, I think they really wanted it.
Yeah.
I think they wanted the hits.
Yeah,
they wanted to be in the world of music video in the way that those other Aerosmith was probably. I mean, I know they're probably not into Aerosmith, but there was a whole scene where hard rock were making. And also they wrote fucking straight up radio friendly songs, and the world was in a moment for it.
Yeah.
Fish wasn't about that. The Maron thing, and it was like, because I'm like tuned in, like super tuned in, because I'm like preparing for my big Trey interview. And the first thing that Maron didn't do, and I apologize to Maron because I know he hangs on all of my words. I apologize, Mark.
Sorry, Mark.
Mark used to love me. And because I would get him to Katz's, like I work at Katz's Deli, and I would get him in the back door, and then he became a vegan, and he doesn't talk to me anymore.
Doesn't need you anymore.
Doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
But
cut the pastrami guy out of your life.
Exactly. It's over for us. But the thing he didn't do with Trey is, and I think Trey probably appreciated it, is not recognizing him as this kind of world leader in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like Trey made such an impact on my generation and your generation. And I think you're much younger than me, but I actually know how much. You're not that much younger. You're a little bit. But it's like, I think Marin felt competitive with Trey for whatever reason and didn't want to give him his fucking due.
That's interesting. I don't know Mark Maron at all, and I have not listened to the podcast enough maybe to make this observation, but I think he's a little funny with musicians sometimes, right?
I don't know. I really think he loves blues. Like he loves blues, and he loves a certain era of rock and roll. But the thing that Trey did that was so cool, and Marin like loves the Dead, which surprises me every time he mentions it.
Yeah.
But the thing that Trey did that I fucking loved in that interview, because Marin doesn't mention a thing about Trey's playing. And like whatever you want to say about Fish, Trey plays like laser beams are shooting out of his amplifier with sustain and he has a beautiful guitar playing style. Like,
I mean, he's an incredibly sophisticated musical thinker. Again, I realize people are going to be like, I hate that. What are they talking about? But whether you like it or not, I think, I mean, he's a virtuosic musician, but with an enormous amount of style, you know?
But Marin never mentions any of it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, Trey goes, oh, it says to Marin, I heard you play on this song, because Marin's a guitar player, and he goes, your solo was so amazing. I listened to it like 5 times.
Aww.
But I felt like I was like a passive aggressive, like smacking Marin in the face. Like, what the fuck am I talking about your guitar solo for? I'm fucking Trey Anastasio.
That is a very reasonable way to read that. Although knowing Trey, he's so sweet.
It's deep, 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 deep,
he was
deep,
just
deep.
Being sweet.
It was fucking so funny to me. And
that is fucking funny.
And then I'm on the phone with every Fish person I know, because all they want is a Trey interview.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
So they appreciated the Marin Trey interview until I explained to them that it wasn't good.
He's a great interview, Trey. I mean, he's open and smart and funny and
yes. And it's annoying.
So I'm just rubbing it in that I have talked to him and you have not.
Well, you've eaten sushi with him and had many expensive cups of coffee.
It's very true.
Strolled down to the west side.
Many a stroll.
Many a stroll.
Many a phone call.
Listen, I think as long as he doesn't listen to this interview, he'll come on the show.
Well, what about this interview would dissuade him?
I just said he was passive aggressive, talked shit about Marin, complimented Marin. I have to take this whole part out.
Just edit this out. This never happened.
I want to know about Nick Drake. What happened to him? How did you fall in love with Nick Drake? That was the first book?
I guess that was so funny. It was so long ago. I have written 3 books about music. Two of them were written in very quick succession, and I always forget which one came out first. The Nick Drake book, I believe, did come out first. I was in my 20s when I wrote that. I now think of myself so kind of chiefly as a magazine writer. Like, I'm someone who likes magazine stories, that as much as I love books, I think that's so weird. I had a whole decade of my life of writing books. Yes, Nick Drake is one of my favorite musicians. Are you a fan?
I love Nick Drake.
Yeah.
I love Nick Drake, but I don't love him the way I love my people.
Who are your people?
My people are the most important thing that we're going to probably talk about besides your life and trauma and getting better and stuff.
And Trey.
I also didn't ask about how what you'd suggest to people in grief. I might be. I think I'm like the greatest interviewer in the world, but I really might not be.
Well, what you do is tricky versus what I do, which is I get to sit down and talk to someone and have like a very rambling, circuitous, disorganized conversation, and then go home and make it seem like, oh, everything was it was organized brilliantly.
No, I do that in an hour.
Yeah. But you surely can't, I don't know how you edit, but you can't rearrange. Maybe you do rearrange this whole thing. No, you don't care that much.
In the old days, we didn't edit anything. And then in the medium days, I would do stuff like that. And now I don't.
Like put things in the right order.
Yeah.
All the times we talked about that. That's a thing you get to do as a writer, which is nice and sort of saves me from having to be extremely prepared for interviews, because I can ask a lot of random questions and then
It makes sense.
and then chop it up
because you
later.
have 10 months to be in.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
How long did you work on the Fish Story for?
I think it was 9 months.
Yeah, it's
maybe
incredible.
10 months. Yeah.
With Nick Drake wasn't one of my people. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I fell in love with Nick Drake from that stupid Volkswagen commercial.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people did.
I never heard him. And I saw that, I was high and I saw that commercial and I was like, this is like the greatest commercial I've ever seen in my life. And that song, Pink Moon, I never heard it before. And I was in art school and I was on drugs and I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I ever heard. But he never, just Pink Moon made it. And, and time, there's a Time song he has.
Time Has Told Me.
Yeah, Time Has Told Me. Those are the only two songs that made it into my world. My world is fucking like Bob Dylan, like your world, and Jerry Garcia and The Who and reggae music and jazz music and hip hop. I'm just very particular with where, and Simon and Garfunkel. I'm just very particular about like where I'm going to get deeply invested. And for some reason, it never happened with Nick Drake, although it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
What happened to him?
Well, it was hard. It was hard to hear that song. I think people feel shame being like, I heard it in this Volkswagen television commercial, like that somehow makes you a huge loser. But it was virtually impossible to hear that song otherwise. This was file sharing. Napster had sort of just begun. The streaming services were not a thing. This was an obscure British folk singer who, made 3 records and died very young. It's like, how are you going to hear that? I don't know. It wasn't going to be like in the big display at Tower Records. It was a difficult song to hear.
But if you're a music person, and like I consider myself a music person, but I'm not like, because I read Rolling Stone and I read Spin and I would be at the record store and I was in bands and stuff. I was just in ska bands, which really gave me a horrible worldview. Yeah. It's like I talked to a friend of mine who we were in a ska band together, and I was like, "That's probably the biggest mistake we ever made."
Being in a ska band.
Yeah, it was choosing that. Yeah, it was fucking 1991 or something.
Right.
I was an intern at MTV. Nirvana was showing up to play. They gave me tickets, and I was like, "I don't need them."
That is incredible.
I was such a fucking hater. Like, I just didn't want to know about things that were popular. I just felt left out.
That's amazing.
It's ridiculous. I just felt left out.
Yeah, I get that.
So how did Nick Drake die?
Can I tell you one funny fact?
Please.
Fish opened for Nirvana once. I just learned this recently. Trey just told me this recently. I think it was in Denmark in like the early 90s.
Were you strolling in Central Park when you did this?
That's how I spend all my days. No. No, but anyway, but that fact really makes me laugh.
Well, they like played with the Beastie Boys. They did a million things.
I know, it's wild. Anyway, sorry, you asked me a non-Fish question.
I want to know about Nick Drake. I want to know what is this story? He wasn't a drug addict.
Well, I don't think so, but I don't know. Again, it's his death. I mean, it most people presume it was a suicide. There are people who believe otherwise. I don't know. One will never know. But that commercial was so lovely, even though that felt like such a kind of dark and strange way to discover music that's incredibly tender and sort of very pure. And here it is in this car commercial of all things. But that clip, which I'm blanking on the name of it has a lovely title, was directed by Dayton Ferris, who was a directing team who did like Little Miss Sunshine. They were filmmakers.
What a great time though. Like it's like, especially then, because now it's even more important to put Nick Drake in commercials than it was then, because then people were buying records.
Right.
Now nobody's buying anything. Everyone's, streaming. And if you don't see a commercial like that. And I think it's funny that you're like, that's kind of an ill way for someone to find Nick Drake, but like, where else are you going to find him?
Yeah.
And the commercial was super lovely.
Right.
We play a weird game in my family where we'll drive around, and this is my daughter's idea. She goes, we'll name a feeling, and then we need to pick a song to go with the feeling. So we're driving out east, and I think my wife or my daughter said the feeling should be driving in the evening. And I was like, oh, Nick Drake, Pink Moon.
Yeah, perfect.
But I didn't tell them that it was because of the Volkswagen commercial.
Yeah.
And you're obsessed. I'm moving on now from Nick Drake. Because Elliott Smith fucking killed himself.
Yeah.
And they're totally paralleled for some reason. Does that make sense, or does that not make sense?
Oh, yeah. I think very similar artists in many ways. Elliott Smith seems like the American version of Nick, I think. Yeah, I think that's a very fair comparison.
Who's the other one? The other one I really don't like. The folk singer, the kid who sings Hallelujah.
Oh, Jeff Buckley?
Yeah, he gets lumped in there too. Do you not lump
bit.
him in there?
No, weirdly. I mean, he drowned in the Mississippi River. I think it was an accidental drowning.
I thought he filled his pockets with rocks and jumped in. No?
Like Sylvia.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. No, you're making me second guess everything, David. I don't know. I don't know anything about music. How did I get this job? I don't think so. I think it was an accidental drowning or a very mysterious drowning. I don't know. Maybe
I always heard he filled his pockets with rocks. I don't like Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
And see, this is my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like so much stuff. You and AJ talking about The National, I was like, fuck that band. The National. Give me a break.
Another very divisive band.
So I put on, and I'm listening to your thing, I'm reading, and I'm like,
I've profiled them.
I'm like, I'm going to fucking listen to The National just to maybe prove myself wrong because I'm such a hater. And I put it on, I was like, nah, fuck this band. They're so melodramatic. It's such a melodramatic style.
It's a moody band, but he's funny. I think Matt Berninger can be quite funny as a lyricist, but you have to, it's not for everybody.
No, I think my closed-mindedness has not served me at all. And I think I was closed-minded to Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember what changed me. I was just becoming a real pothead. And I was always in love with the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was driving to school in upstate New York with a friend of mine, and he had just gotten Highway 61 revisited, and I heard Dylan say, "The sun's not yellow, it's chicken."
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I haven't, I won't get out. How do you so connected to Bob Dylan?
Bob Dylan's probably my favorite songwriter. You mean like how did it enter into my life?
Well, you're like writing for him.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Do you go on walks with Dylan too? Have you had sushi with him?
Yeah, of course. We put our raincoats on and put our hoods up, and we no, I've never met him.
I have a project to pitch you.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I have this dream, and you're the person to do it with me.
Okay.
We're gonna write a play.
Okay.
About Bob Dylan during COVID. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dylan is touring.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets stuck in a city, and for months, and he doesn't know what to do. And it turns out he has some weird family in the town, and he moves in with this middle-class family that it's like his sister's brother thing. And he's like this weird old Jewish guy in the house with this family, but it's Bob Dylan during COVID. And he's like, they're watching Family Feud, and Bob Dylan's sitting there. They're having breakfast, and Bob Dylan's sitting there. And we call it Another Side of Bob Dylan.
It's brilliant. You're a visionary.
Do you want to write this with me?
Yes.
Would you do this with me?
Yes, I will do this with you. This sounds very Dylan. Do you follow him on Instagram? Because
I hate him. I love him. We went to see Outlaw Music Festival.
Oh, in Long Island. I almost went to
Jones
that show.
Beach.
Yeah.
And we missed Lucinda Williams.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like really full of myself for some reason that day. Oh, I know why. I'll tell you this. I've told this story on the show, but it's a funny story. Yeah. So I'm wandering around. Oh, we went to see Wilco, and Wilco was amazing.
Amazing. Another sober guy you should have on the show.
They're such dicks. I swear to God, they're such dicks. All these people, they refuse.
Did a podcast interview with him.
Well, you're not me.
Wow.
You're open. You like people.
I wish. I do like people.
Oh, stop. Jeff Tweedy is one of the, he's right there. Dylan is my number one.
Yeah.
Dylan is my number one. Jeff Tweedy is a top 10 want to be on Dopey guest. And I offered to send them Katz's, and they were very interested in getting Katz's food.
Well, of course.
And then when I asked them to come on the show, they were like, that's not happening. Anyway.
A bridge too far.
Yes. And I think
we'll take the pickles.
I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
As long as I don't stop doing this, eventually we'll get there. Anyway, so we're at Jones Beach, And Wilco closes with U.S. Blues, like Grateful Dead song,
Mhm.
and the crowd's going crazy. And then I'm feeling so good. And I go outside, and there's a dude there who's like, oh, aren't you Dave from Dopey? And I was like, oh, yes, I am. Yes, this is great. And the whole night I'm walking around and people are looking at me, giving me nice looks.
Mhm.
And I'm like, people know me here. This is amazing. And then I'm talking to people. I'm like, oh, wasn't that Wilco set great? I'm not usually positive like this.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, are you worried about Dylan? And I was like, and I said to everybody, I was like, no, see, it's like seeing your great grandfather.
Yeah.
It's like nothing good's going to happen, but you're going to be glad you saw him.
Of course. Yeah.
And I was feeling really good about it. And then we're eating food, and then we're missing the beginning of the Dylan set. And I've seen Dylan 10 times.
Yeah.
They've all been terrible.
Yeah.
And we go inside, he doesn't turn on the lights. He doesn't turn on the cameras. And I start getting upset because I want to see something.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's like, it was a confounding set. I think I was screaming at some point during the set. I got so upset. And my wife's like, what's wrong with you? You knew he was going to do this. He does this every time.
Yeah.
Like, why does he do it? Why doesn't he go on stage and sing the song? Like, why does he want to be this spooky spy guy all the time?
Yeah.
Why is all this spooky stuff?
Right. Great question.
I'm asking you.
Oh, God.
Tell me
I knew
why.
the answer to that, David. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think he is a freak. I mean, I think, and I say that
I love that.
with all the love in the world. I mean, those are my people. I think he's a genuine true blue weirdo.
He is the greatest.
But he's also antagonistic, right? And I think he's someone who's maybe irritated by projections of greatness. I think that historically has bothered him and sort of plagued him and possibly caused him a great deal of mental harm. You know, I mean, having that sort of foisted upon you like a real voice of a generation,
right.
You know, when you're whatever, 20 and still sort of trying to figure out who you are. I think he resented that then. And I think, you know, he's channeled that resentment into this sort of trickster persona. And he can do it, right? I mean, he can do whatever he wants. And we still show up.
I'll show up anytime I can.
Of course, me too.
But everybody's showing up hoping the same thing.
Yeah.
That this time he's going to play Visions of Johanna with the melody of the song.
And you can see his face in a single spot.
It would be so simple for him to do that.
But if he did that, would no tiny part of you be disappointed?
No tiny part. I would weep. And the thing I don't understand, because I do understand, and I know you're not Bob Dylan and you're not his representative or whatever. But you are doing a weird Bob Dylan event the day of DopeyCon. What is that event?
It's true. I'm a writer in residence at NYU at a school called Gallatin, and we're doing a big exhibit in the Gallatin Gallery in conjunction with the Dylan Center. Have you ever been there out in Tulsa? Oh my God, you got to go. It's wild. I got to visit before they opened. Sorry, humble brag. And sort of
You and Trey went together?
I actually went with Dylan. No, just
have you sat with Dylan?
Never. No, I wrote some liner notes for one of the bootleg series releases, and he edited the liner notes, but we did not meet.
So amazing.
It was amazing. It's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
Do you know who Steve Poltz is?
I don't think so.
He's a singer, songwriter, storyteller that you should find out about. He's brilliant. He wrote You Were Meant for Me with Jewel. Oh. He was Jewel's boyfriend. And he was like this California weirdo, punk rock, folk rock guy. He's great. And he told this crazy story of Jewel opened for Dylan. And Dylan, I'm going to ruin the story, but I'll try to tell it. Dylan gives Jewel a box set of some kind of like famous yodeling music. and Dylan's like, Jewel, I saw you play, but you didn't yodel.
Oh my God.
And Jewel's like, yeah, I don't always yodel, you know. And he's like, well, did you get my present?
Oh my God.
And she's like, yeah. And he goes, well, why didn't you thank me for it? You got to hear Steve Poltz. I'm sure Jewel tells it even better, but it's a great story.
That is a great story. I wish Bob Dylan would give me a yodeling box set.
I don't think it's out of the depths of possibility.
You're right.
What I want to know, it's like if he is the voice of a generation for whatever reason, and what about that interview that CBS interview where he says he's connected to the commander who tells him what to do. What do you make of that?
This is the miracle of Dylan. It's impossible to know what to make of it because 50% of me thinks, yeah, maybe that is real. And the other part's like, he's just fucking with us again. That's what he's done. He's done it for 50 years. Like, this is what he does.
Would you write this play with me?
Yes, of course I would write this play with you. It sounds hilarious.
It could be so fun.
It could be so fun.
And it can be in New York off Broadway.
Yeah.
We can just do that.
It would be really funny.
You're the person to do it with me.
I would have an enormous amount of fun doing that.
I would really like to try doing that.
Okay.
Anyway, so he writes his folk songs.
Yeah.
And then he goes electric and he makes just the most, those records are my favorite records. Those, you know, Highway 61, Blonde on Blonde. What's after that? Basement Tapes, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
It doesn't Desire, I think, is the next. Yeah. No, Blood on the Tracks. Or Desire.
God, yeah,
doesn't matter.
Blood on the Tracks. Probably his greatest record.
You think so?
I also really, really love Time Out of Mind. I think it's Blood on the Tracks or Time Out of Mind for me.
See, that's why you're an amazing rock writer for the New Yorker. That you can actually put Time Out of Mind on the level of Blood on the Tracks. For me, it's all my personal experience more than anything else, and my personal experience was I love the Basement Tapes. I live for the Basement Tapes, but I also live for Highway 61, and I live for Freewheelin', and I love Bob Dylan, even though it wasn't his songs. Just, you feel him so much.
Yeah.
But my question is, if he's the voice of a generation, and then he's kind of rambly, hanging out, and then he's rocker, and then he's kind of country rocker, then he's divorced Dylan.
Yeah.
And he's still just making songs that you can sing along to.
Yeah.
And then something happens. You know, some crazy shift happens. And like, We Are the World, Bob Dylan. Like, what do you think happened there?
I don't know, David.
I'm asking hard-hitting questions today.
I'm sweating a little.
It's too hot in here. I can't. I think the air conditioner
fired on the other side of this because I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to me, that is the sort of supreme joy of Dylan. I think. I mean, obviously, you know, the songwriting is supernatural. It's so good, but I think the real pleasure of being a Dylan fan is not understanding. I cannot begin to sort of suss out his intentions for his life or his work or his career. I do not know what his motivations are. I have no idea what he's going to do next. That's why I really have been enjoying him on social media, because it's like, I don't know, he's posting a Machine Gun Kelly video, or he's posting, it's like you just can't, it's inscrutable. It's wholly inscrutable. And to me, that's sort of thrilling.
But I guess the real thing for me is like, I'm not a great musician, but I love to play guitar and sing. And obviously he's a great musician, and he likes to play piano now, and he played a little guitar recently. Yeah. And he was busting out Grateful Dead songs out of nowhere. His Stella Blue is incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
But the joy, again, I'm not Bob Dylan. I'm not Trey. I'm not any of these people. But you love to sing and play. And I just feel like he would feel so good to imagine if he got on stage and did The Man in Me, like at the piano and sang it. I think he'd feel so good.
I don't think he's like us.
Oh, he's definitely not like us.
I think he's one of one. I don't know. I don't know. I can't even imagine how much I would cry if he did that. But he's never going to do it.
No. What's being embedded with Fish like?
They're incredibly generous and thoughtful. And I think it was interesting to talk with all of them about the sort of musicality of the band. I think what they're doing is so singular, and they were visionaries in a way. And I don't think that they had a lot of opportunities to speak about that, over the last 40 years. I think people got very distracted by like the drugs and the parking lot and the, white people with dreadlocks and nitrous and whatever. All of that is fascinating. As you were saying, those sort of subculture stories are really meaty and they're compelling and the details are fun. But I think, that band was doing something so unique musically. And I'm not sure they'd had a chance to speak about that as much, in the past. So I felt almost, that they were sort of hungry to do it, and I was in the right place at the right time. It was kind of a tricky pitch at the New Yorker, I have to say, Be like, because that piece was not pegged to anything, it wasn't, it ended up running about a year after Evolve, which was their most recent record, came out. So it wasn't like part of a promotional cycle for an album. I mean, they were touring, but they're always touring. So the sort of, usually at the magazine, the big question is kind of why now? Why would we write about this at all? And why would we write about this now? And I didn't have great answers to either of those. Also, there were, some Fish skeptics, I think, on staff.
Tons of Fish skeptics, but that piece is so good. It's such a good read. And it came out of nowhere. I agree.
It came out of nowhere.
Which is one of the reasons it was great, though.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, for me, for whatever reason, I've given Trey a pass as a New Yorker now.
Oh,
He is a New Yorker.
Oh, very much so.
And like, I just feel like he belongs in the New Yorker. And I also think that Fish is such a New York band.
Yeah.
And they don't really get that. I mean, obviously they're a Vermont band. One of the coolest things in the piece was when he's talking about being a kid or being a young man and Bernie Sanders is the mayor of Burlington and Ben and Jerry's ice cream. And it's like, that's quite a journey. And to be as prolific at Madison Square Garden as Billy Joel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's their venue. It's funny because people talk about Nectar's, which is a bar in Burlington, as being the sort of formative venue in the Fish story. And that is where they got their start. But it's Madison Square Garden now, I mean, to sell out New Year's Eve for however many years they've done that in a row.
Not only, don't they sell out every show? Isn't there like not a show that's not sold out?
I can't imagine that there is.
I've never seen them at Madison Square Garden. And I grew up here.
Go.
I've only seen them.
Patrick will get you tickets.
Yeah. Supposedly Andy Bernstein, Andy Bernstein?
I don't think so.
He's getting me tickets supposedly to the Beacon thing.
Oh, Trey at the Beacon. That's a hot ticket.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I saw them at the Lemon Wheel.
Oh, okay. So you went to a festival.
In 1999, I think.
Yeah.
I was just coming off of heroin for the first time. And I worked for a TV company in Manhattan with a bunch of rich Fish people. And they took me out there. And I was meant to test drugs for the group.
Oh
I was 25, and I was
to like see if this fentanyl will kill you. Like
no, there was no the fentanyl. Only came in analgesic patches at that point. No, I was like,
you're like what is the beef eater? Is that the person who like tasted the meal for the king?
I was that, but with ecstasy, and I never did so much ecstasy, and I was just like, no, this isn't the one. No, this isn't the one. And I went into a field and I'm tripping like just out of my mind.
Yeah.
And Trey like is playing these laser beams into my head. And I was like, holy shit. I was very resistant to Fish because of my natural haterism.
Yeah.
I have a real problem. Are you sensing my problem?
I do sense your problem.
It's not good. What can I do?
Come to my side, Dave.
How do you
it's
do
nice over here.
How do you like everything so much? What do you not like?
This is a challenge for me as a critic, actually. This is something my editor is constantly like, oh, Amanda, like, stop. I have a kind of, I don't know, like, I think I can be a little, naive is not the word for it. I can be a little like Pollyanna-ish about things where I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I think I have learned and sort of honed, especially in my time at the New Yorker, which is very much, we're sort of, pushing our glasses down our nose and kind of peering over the top at the culture sort of writ large. That is a little bit the editorial imperative there, and it is not necessarily my personality. Every once in a while, I'll file the edit that I get the most at the magazine is a sort of eye roll of like, are you kidding? It's like I'll quote a rock star saying something, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, and my editor would be like, this is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, you've got to be kidding me. I think I need to maybe develop a bit of a sharper filter.
No way. I really admire your openness and your positivity, and I feel like I've really taken you into the sewer in this house.
Oh, come on!
So I apologize, and you got to get out of here. You're not going to catch your train.
Well, now at this point, I live here now, so I'm here all day, David.
He's not here.
I've missed the train. It's fine. It's totally fine.
And do you think, just on a personal level, do you think I'm too closed-minded and dark and negative? Do you think I could change? I'm 51 years old.
Okay, well, so here's what I think is happening. I think you are telling me you are closed-minded and negative, but you are not showing me that you are closed-minded and negative, and therefore I refuse your story.
Okay, great. Do you want to play my little game real quick?
Yeah. Okay,
I'm
what's
gonna
the
say
game?
I'm gonna say two things, and you're gonna pick what you like more.
Okay, I love it.
Nick Drake or Elliott Smith?
Nick Drake,
Sabrina Carpenter or Chappell Roan?
Sabrina Carpenter,
Heroin or fentanyl?
heroin,
Rick Danko or Levon Helm?
Levon.
That was a tough one for you.
That was a tough one for me.
Fish or the Grateful Dead?
Oh fuck. Okay, Fish.
Really? I don't believe you. But you're too close with Trey to not pick Trey. Jerry's dead. Who cares about Bob Weir?
Yeah.
Do you ever sit with Bob Weir?
No, never.
Never had coffee with him?
Never.
Would you like to?
Yeah, of course.
And Trey?
Sure.
Do you ever do drugs?
I'm not a big drug person. I will say, after Brett died, I mean, this is funny. I'm sorry. I want to keep playing the game. It's fun.
Game's not that good.
It's okay. I love a rapid fire question. I need that because otherwise I will equivocate for years. After Brett died, I remember having a moment where I was like, I cannot become a drug addict. It was very appealing to me in that time. It was
What
just
drugs?
anything. I mean, it's like you're drinking a little too much, like whatever. Weed, I don't know, whatever. It was just, I've never been anywhere near hard drugs. It's just sort of not my lifestyle.
Were you a pothead for a second? Are you a pothead now?
No. I drink. That's really it. Not in a, excessive or problematic way. But I remember thinking like anything, this is funny because this is something I write about in the Fish piece, like that pursuit of oblivion is in itself so intoxicating. Like anything to just sort of blur the edges a little bit, like in those acute days of sort of active grief, you're kind of white knuckling it through your days, and you need to like, I felt like I needed someone to like manually, like peel my fingers off, like whatever it was I was clutching. And obviously like substances are a very quick road to that. So I feel like I had a moment where I was like, fuck, like this could take over my whole life. I think it happens to a lot of people who are grieving. You can't feel that bad all the time. And you don't know how to turn it off. So I was sort of fortunate I didn't fall in that hole.
Oh, you did group therapy, EMDR, work.
Yeah.
Lunch with Trey. You weren't lunching with Trey back then though, were you?
Not lunching with Trey.
Who were you lunching with? James Hetfield?
Well, it's funny. Yes, but it's funny because in that period too, and this is maybe like a reporter's instinct, I wanted to write stories. I was very interested in grief. So I did an interview with Anderson Cooper right away, who was at the time hosting a podcast about grief, but was also someone who I thought like, it had a lot of death in his family. His brother killed himself. His father died when he was young. His mother died more recently, but he'd also been in these war zones. He'd been very close to death and destruction. And that interested me. And I thought maybe this person could teach me something about what I'm experiencing. I also did an interview with Nick Cave not long after Brett died that was, revelatory and kind of life-changing for me in a way.
Why?
So because of the way, he was further along than I was. He'd lost his son, obviously, famously. And I just felt like he had a perspective on it that didn't feel sentimental or unrealistic or corny to me and could sort of hold the darkness and the totality of grief, but also offer, a sort of vision of a guy who was on the other side of it and was making extraordinary art, and it had changed him, but it had made him sort of bigger and more interesting and more complicated. And that was at the time, that was sort of my hope for myself. Like, this thing will change me unquestionably, but hopefully on the other side of it, I am larger and different. And yeah, I mean, more complicated is the phrase I use a lot to think about like the before and after shift. I became more complicated.
Well, no, I mean,
more human.
But that's also another parallel between grief and addiction recovery.
Yeah.
You go through something horrible and you have found something new in yourself.
Yeah.
To look at you cannot look at the world in the same way again.
Yeah.
You're forever changed.
Yeah.
And you're so much more useful.
Yeah. Yes. You are so much more useful and empathetic and smarter. I think about kind of what it means to be alive.
It's amazing. It's such a so why. And I've never listened to even a song by Nick Cave.
Yeah.
Never even a song. What's wrong with me? He just seemed like he was so cool and is wearing black and he's so.
He is incredibly cool.
Yeah, it's like
He's very cool.
I think I stray away from like that cool thing. Yeah. Like, I think that's why Nick Drake was too cool for me. Elliott Smith, all those people. I was like, that's just too cool for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't even listen to Pavement. What's wrong with me?
I mean, Pavement's incredibly cool.
I interviewed Steve Malcolmus one time, and he was such a dick. He didn't even look up at me.
I've interviewed him before too. He's difficult.
Did he look at you?
Yeah, he looked at me. He
He didn't even look
That
at
just sounded so salacious. I did not mean that to sound so spicy. He didn't look at me in that way.
It wasn't a spicy look?
I don't think so.
He
But it
wouldn't
was,
look up. I think he was holding a soda can when I interviewed him. He wouldn't look up from the soda.
yeah. One thing that I really admire about Steve Malcolmus is he plainly hates being interviewed, or at least it appears that he hates being interviewed, but he just keeps doing it.
He's so good. It's so weird how disinterested I was in so many things. And now, like, my wife, like, she's not a big Pavement person, but she claims to be. And like these songs will pop on and I'll be like, wow, I'm so jealous. I have so much jealousy in me. Like, I'm jealous of Steve Malcolmus. I love his music.
He's a handsome man.
I'm not jealous of his looks. Give me a
tall.
I'm tall. I'm not jealous of his looks. I'm jealous of his music.
Just kidding. No, Pavement is. I love Pavement,
and it's so. It's not. It's like they're good musicians and everything, but it's not virtuo. It's not virtuosic.
No. That's
it's
not what they're doing.
Super accessible.
Yeah. It's scrappy and it's.
Yeah, I love it too. All right, let's get back to my stupid game.
Yeah, sorry.
So you chose Fish over the Grateful Dead.
I sure did.
Metallica or Megadeth?
Metallica.
You only paused because Dave Mustaine sent you the flowers?
Oh my God. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing that happened. It's the funniest thing. It was the first time I smiled after Brett died, because it was so funny.
Dave Mustaine sent Amanda a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen?
Enormous flower arrangement. It was like white roses or
it's
something.
Very metal. White roses. Metal.
It was very metal. Very metal. Because I was in the midst of reporting this piece and I had just, we had just been talking.
How was he there? Because he's not in Metallica.
No, he's not in Metallica anymore.
He was in the beginning, but how did you get so close to him that he would care?
I mean, that's what was actually like a very lovely gesture about it is we were not that close. I mean, we had done a couple interviews, I think 2 interviews about, that era in thrash and about Megadeth and about his involvement in Metallica and his incredible appearance in Some Kind of Monster, the Metallica doc.
I have to see that again.
Yeah. He didn't have to do that. It was just incredibly nice.
So how did he know you, though?
Well, he knew me because we had...
You were there when they were making the movie?
No, I wasn't there when we were making the movie. He knew me only because I had interviewed him for the Metallica story. And it wasn't even in person. We had done it over Zoom.
So thoughtful.
And then I think we exchanged, I'm trying to remember. I think we exchanged maybe some voice memos or something. I don't know. But after Brett died, there was this sort of moment where I think the Metallica story was due like that month. And it was this sort of realization like, all right, we're going to have to kind of put this on hold. Somebody told the band, it could have been me. I could have been my editor. I don't know. Somebody was like, the story is not actually coming out in a month because this awful thing happened. So, they knew.
And then the word got to Dave Mustaine.
I guess so.
Who is not known to be a thoughtful, wonderful person.
I know.
That's so cool.
It's really cool.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Methadone or Suboxone?
Okay, I don't really know the distinction between the two. I'm going to say methadone. Right, OG, classic. Is that true? I don't know which of those is the classic one. Methadone.
Methadone's classic. Okay. Yeah. Cliff Burton or Robert Trujillo?
Oh, God. David.
I know. I don't fuck around with this stuff.
It's got to be Cliff. Robert's a lovely man. Cliff.
Good for you. Ayahuasca or ibogaine?
Ayahuasca.
Anderson Cooper or Stephen Colbert?
Anderson Cooper.
Trey or Billy Strings?
Trey.
A CD or a record?
Record.
Iggy Pop or Lou Reed?
That's the hardest one so far.
That's the last one I have on the paper. I was going to start improvising now. You famously said that Iggy Pop was the most starstruck you've ever been in an interview.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to...
I'm going Lou Reed all fucking day.
Reed
but you weren't as starstruck.
I have a daughter named Nico. I mean, I'm a Velvet Underground...
Did you name her after Crazy Nico?
I mean, sort of.
Why would you do that?
I loved the name. Brett and I loved the name. I'm going to say Iggy, but that breaks my heart. You're going Lou Reed all day.
All day. Every day. And twice. 10 times a day. I'm never going Iggy Pop over Lou Reed. Never. Never even close. For me.
Oh, God. Maybe it's Lou.
No. You don't. Listen. For me, and I would love Iggy Pop.
Which 2 daughters do you love more?
I don't have a preference.
See,
I don't.
it's hard.
With the two of them, I'm even Steven.
Yeah.
But for me, musically, I'm a Velvet Underground person. Like that's right there. Velvet Underground as much as any band. For me, perfect band, perfect sound, perfect everything. Like people didn't like Loaded. I like Loaded as much as every other record.
Yeah.
That's
you could say that about the Stooges too.
I didn't care about the Stooges. I just cause I think I was intimidated by Iggy Pop's Good Body. I think I'd see it. I get a little homoerotic feeling. I couldn't handle it.
I get that.
And Peanut Butter and the whole thing. Now, and I still never got into the Stooges. Still, you see this reoccurring theme.
I see this reoccurring.
It's is the Stooges?
David, let me help you.
Please help me. Help me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going Iggy. I'm sticking with it.
Good. I mean, that's the end of the game. Did you have a good time?
I did. I had a great time.
Did you learn anything?
Yes, I learned quite a bit.
What did you learn?
Well, I learned that methadone is the OG opiate.
You ever smoke opium?
No, I've never even come close.
I've always wanted to smoke opium. Anyway, you didn't need to learn anything. I had such a good time talking to you, and now I
feel like I fumbled the "Did you learn anything?" question.
You don't need to.
I learned quite a bit about you.
You don't need to learn anything at this thing.
Well,
you don't. You came here out of the greatness and goodness of your heart. You shared about how. Here, last thing, most important thing, because I'm very self-centered and I've got a lot of issues. The most important thing is, what would you advise somebody who's lost somebody suddenly?
It's like I feel like I should have a better answer for this. I mean, there's all the obvious stuff, which is like ask for help. Don't worry about sort of being a burden on the people around you.
That's not obvious. Was it hard to not ask for help? Was it hard to ask for help? Who did you go to mostly?
Oh my God. I hate asking for help. But I was like, there were certain things that were kind of testing the absolute boundaries of my capacity, to like taking care of a baby by myself while also, grieving the loss of my husband, was, so I wasn't sleeping because kids, Nico was not a great sleeper. There were times when I remember that first Christmas after Brett died, we both got the flu. So we had to isolate, so I had that sort of first Christmas alone at our house, and I'm sick, incredibly sick, and my daughter's also really sick, and I'm up all night with her. I mean,
she's a baby. She can't talk and be like, "Oh, it's beautiful, mommy. Amazing Christmas."
There are moments like that where you have to ask for help. The other thing is, I think after someone dies, there's this sort of period where a lot of people are around and they're trying to help and they're trying to sort of do whatever they can, and they kind of slowly start to sort of drift away and get back to their own lives, which is understandable and excusable and normal. But sometimes you got to just pull them back in. You got to say like, not yet. Like you can't kind of leave me here yet. I don't know. You're tougher than you think you are. That was the thing I really had to learn. Like there were so many moments where it's just like, I can't do this. And then you do it, and I think when you have one of those and you get through it and you're on the other side, you need to take a second and be like, I did do that. I thought I couldn't do that thing and I did it. And here I am, and give yourself a little pat on the back for that. But yeah, therapy, as much therapy as you can afford.
You still do therapy?
I still do therapy.
I think I need to get back in.
Are you out?
I'm out. I'm out for a long time.
Really?
I think I need to get back in.
Can't hurt.
Just judging from this interview.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think that's the thing. I became a much more social person too on the other side of grief. You sort of realize you have to, I don't know.
And I think what I've learned more, I learned a lot of stuff from talking to you, but it's what we can do for other people. It'll make our lives better. And it's horrible that you lost your husband, and it's horrible that Nico doesn't get to be with her dad. But that's reality. There's all we can do is deal with what we're given. And I'm not a very woo-woo kind of person, but I'm friends with a few woo-woo kinds of people. And one of them just is always saying, whatever happens was meant to happen.
Yeah.
And we just have to go on with it. And it seems like you're doing amazing stuff. And I'm so happy you came in and talked.
I'm so happy. This was so fun.
I'm making you write this fucking play with me, though.
I will happily do it. You don't have to make me.
Really?
Yes.
Are you just saying that? Are you really like? Are you really like that?
Funny.
All right, good.
Well, first of all, I just love a dumb joke.
With this though, it would have to be some kind of like Waiting for Godot meets as into the Dylan world as we can go.
Yeah.
And then it's also like Dylan's this amazing painter.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Like he painted this crazy watercolor of Katz's.
Oh.
That looks exactly like Katz's.
Really?
And it's new. It's like you see some buildings behind Katz's. It's not from like 1975 or something.
Yeah.
It's like, is he sitting outside Katz's fucking painting? What made him do that? Why did he do that?
That's amazing.
It's so weird. And then we also have to figure out like how he talks. Do you think he talks like a film noir guy when he's in the house with his nephew? I have
2 Dylan facts that I feel like could maybe be germane to this play. I don't know if either of them are true. They might both be apocryphal. One is that when he gets back on his tour bus after a show, he has a personal chef that he travels with, and the only thing that he wants to eat is mashed potatoes. He eats a big bowl of mashed potatoes after every show on his tour bus. The second is from a friend I know who used to own a vintage shop in Memphis that had one of those like racks of postcards by the cash register, and that Dylan came in one day, bought one thing, and it was a postcard of Bob Dylan.
Do you think he likes Machine Gun Kelly?
Yeah.
He likes his music, or he just likes his enthusiasm and his fuck you. Machine Gun Kelly is a good, I don't give a shit what you think about me.
Yeah, I think Dylan probably has a soft spot for anybody like that, right? Do you think Dylan likes fish?
I know Dylan loved Jerry.
Yeah.
He loved Jerry. And it makes me emotional to think about the things he would say about Jerry Garcia.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, is Dylan listening to music? Is Dylan listening to Machine Gun Kelly? No way. No way. He's listening to weird country music. He's listening to like mystery, film noir.
He's listening to like 78s from 1925.
How about that thing where he gets on stage and he's like, how come nobody fucking busts Tom Waits about not singing? We have to find his voice, though, his around the house voice.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be hard.
I'm very excited.
I'm excited as well.
Thank you, Amanda. It was really fun.
Thank you.